Salutations, dear listener and viewer, and welcome to the inaugural episode of 2026 for Metal Albums with Birds on the Cover. That's the show we're doing right now. I'm your host, Minsk. Thanks for joining. For the folks joining for the first time, this show's concept is that once a month, I release an episode where I go through albums that came out this month, usually focusing on new releases, but also using re-releases as an excuse to visit older albums that are metal albums that have a bird on the cover. We talk about what we think about the album image and the bird that was featured, and also get into the music on the album. And as we've come to find out on this year-and-a-half adventure that I've been having doing this review series, the definitions for both metal and for bird can be quite creative at times. So yeah, January is going to be a bit of a smooth start, let's put it that way. It's not a jam-packed episode or anything, but putting up a little bit warmed up here. Speaking of, January has started delightfully here in Finland. I commented in the November and December episodes last year how winter was a little bit slow to get started, which for a metal show, maybe not appropriate. I feel like there is an affinity for winter in metal music, and I don't know, I happen to be the kind of weirdo who likes winter weather. Anyway, I digress. This January, winter has really kicked into gear here in Finland, which I think is a good sign for this show. It's nice, cozy vibes as snow has piled in all over the place. To get started with our metal music avian adventures for this year. So yeah, hope you guys will enjoy it. Some of the episodes were getting really huge last year, not just the volume of albums I was reviewing at a time, but also these opening preambles got really long as I was going in depth with some of the concerts I was seeing, which is a theme that will probably continue this year because I'm trying to favor live concerts a little bit more, honestly. But this month we don't have a live concert to report on, and, as I said, it's trying to get a smooth opening here, so I'll try to keep this opening a little bit ramble-free as well, so we'll get quickly into the music. Although I've already talked about the weather, I think rambling is sadly not avoided this time. Oh well. What I was thinking I could really quickly talk about is a small little news in the music scene, and also a little update on this show and my intentions for this year. I wanted to highlight the good work of Bandcamp, which is, in my opinion, is one of the best locations to get music, online. As far as getting digital music, I think Bandcamp is my go-to place of choice. And they recently announced that they would be putting a moratorium on AI-generated music, and I think that's really delightful that they have drawn a line on that. As you may recall, I had a big rant last year about not wanting to feature albums on this show where the cover of the album was generated by AI, and I'm still sticking to that. And to be honest, I also feel the same about music that's been generated by AI. I just think I've been able to... That's been easier to sift, I feel like. But I will admit that, I'm probably easy to fool, especially because I want to, lend the benefit of the doubt. Because I think that kind of... You might call them a little bit of witch hunts that have been launched for slightly sketchy-looking art or sounding art aren't super cool either. So I'd rather give artists... folks claiming to be artists the benefit of the doubt. So, but that probably on the flip side means that I will probably get fooled. But the mission statement here is to avoid AI-generated content, and I'm glad that Bandcamp has come out sharing that goal. Now, critics/AI bros will probably point out that this is, of course, going to be a little tricky to enforce. As mentioned, it's there's no one-stop shop for recognizing generative AI content. And I suppose you could critique that it's going to be hard to enforce. And that's fair, but I think the statement in itself carries weight. And it's to be appreciated that, taking a stance like that in my mind, is cool in itself. Like, yeah, okay, it might be hard to enforce, and it'll probably still take a little bit of focus from users to pay attention, not to fall for any generative AI content that slips through. But, I'd say it's a heck of a lot better that, like, Bandcamp's cool enough to draw the line on that and, not just, like, shrug and go, what are you going to do about it? Like, let's see then. Very good. So, the point is, I will be continuing to try and, favor Bandcamp when available, when linking to where to get some of this music that I'm going to be reviewing on this show. You can expect that in the future as well, because for now, they're doing all right. But right, I wanted to also, speaking on this topic, since I mentioned that I wanted to, focus on, human-made art, human-made music, and the album cover art side as well. And in light of that, I thought in 2026, what I could do is going forwards, I'm going to try and shout out the artist who made the cover art for whatever album we are reviewing. Because like last year I was, trying to, cut out the whole generative AI cover arts and do human-made ones. And, I thought in light of that, it seems worth it to, call out and appreciate the artists who have put the work in. Like, I would say that one of the kind of distinguishing things of my review show here is that we do put more focus on the album cover art than other, music review shows, which really do just focus on the music side of things. And that's fine. I think that's a fine thing to do, But I feel like, I distinguish myself by also giving equal weight to the album art and the effort put into having a really cool album image, because I do think that that's not a small part of the experience. It's just like, what kind of imagery did the band want to associate with this album that we're listening to? I think that's a relevant thing to think about. And also, of course, like, that's where all the birds are that we are focusing on this show. But the point is, this show puts a little bit of stock into the album art image. And I think it's only fair that I shout out, when possible, I mention who the artist was, so that you can, they get their time and, you can appreciate their work as well. Now, I keep saying that when possible because I will admit I'm not the greatest Sherlock in looking this stuff up, although I do put some effort into it. So there's inevitably going to be, albums that I can't figure out, especially when we're talking about, like, albums that have just released. Like, the credits are not always readily available online, like the full credits for who worked on the album. And, as I think you have worked out, I'm not buying literally every album I have, on review here. Like, I just like, finding them from available sources, to listen to. And sometimes that means I can't suss out who the artist is. And I will mention that, at least in the, like, text, description of the video. Like, I'll mention artist unknown if I couldn't work it out. But whenever it's possible, I will strive to give the shout out that the artists deserve, I feel like. I think that's fair. Now, you could also say, shouldn't I also be shouting out a whole bunch of other people that worked on this? The band members, which, sometimes I'll drop band member names, if appropriate. And, I don't know, I guess the other people, the producer, the mixers, all these people. And I guess that's a fair critique. Everyone, it is a group effort. And everybody probably deserves, a little bit of appreciation. I would firstly say that, when I shout, if I'm talking about a band, the band members are kind of implicitly being shouted out in that process of just mentioning the band itself. So kind of all right on that front. All the other, like, tech people, okay, you got me. I don't know. I can't, all I can say is, like, as if it's hard to find out, like, the artist, it's sometimes very hard to find out the people who worked on the other sides as well, So, I have to keep the amount of work that is put into the behind the scenes in some kind of, like, reasonable limits, I'd say. So can't go sleuthing impossibly much. I do apologize. It is true, though, that, again, those folks deserve some recognition as well. And, I strive to have everybody who worked on an album in mind, when going through them. But, yeah. But again, as mentioned, the image is very important. The album cover art is very important to this show that we do here. So that's why I also feel like this one place to elevate the album cover artists, at least on equal footing with the band members themselves, I think is appropriate. And I think if you've been listening to this show for a year and a half, you will agree with that take. So yeah, let's see if we can make this work as we go into 2026. As mentioned, I wanted to keep this one nice and simple, just a little shout-outs and explanations, and also old man rambling about changing of the seasons. But now it is time to get to what you guys wanted. Let's queue up the first of the albums that I listened to in January, and talk about the birds and the album and the metal and everything. So please enjoy. Breaking news, everybody. In fact, despite what I just said in that intro, we do have one concert report to provide here for you guys. Despite my earlier plans when I recorded that intro around halfway through January and was thinking that I'm not going to any concert, I did get an impromptu invitation to go see Tarot at their 40th anniversary tour by a friend of mine. Literally the same day, got a message to the group chat that, there's 2 extra tickets to the Tarot thing tonight, so anyone interested? How about you, Minsk? And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, I can arrange that. So yeah, so we'll be talking about a concert after all here. Let's do it real quick, since it's a little bit of an extra thing here at the start, but why not? So Tarot, for international viewers, is a long-running Finnish heavy metal band. As mentioned, 40 years old at this point. It's probably notable to international audiences as the band where Marko Hietala, the longtime former bassist of Nightwish, bassist and male vocalist of Nightwish, came from. Tarot was the band that he started with his brother Sakari in 80 something, 85, I guess, 40th anniversary. Sure, why not? Anyway, it's a real cornerstone of Finnish heavy metal for sure. And I've never seen them before. I've seen Marko perform. I've never seen Nightwish perform, but I've seen Marko because he's a very busy, very multi-talented guy. He is in a bunch of different music projects, so I've seen him singing in a couple different things. But Tarot, where he is singing and playing the bass, and he's got all his buddies around him, new experience, so why the hell not? Now, because this was a very impromptu invitation, I missed out on most of the opening act, because I had to arrange things to be able to show up, so I did not see the warm-up band, except for, the last 4 songs. The warm-up band was Arion, which is a newer power metal act. I say newer, but I think it's over 10 years old by now. But a power metal act, a newer generation power metal act here in Finland. They had one big radio hit, I want to say 10 years ago, called At the Break of Dawn, and I remember that being quite a catchy song. And thankfully, that was the last song that they ended it on. So although I was messaging my friends that, I would have liked to hear that song, but oh well, I managed to actually slip in and hear that. I don't have a lot to say about them since I came in a little late. They were playing a couple of ballady songs when I came in, and they seemed to have, pretty good energy, and the crowd was... There was a nice crowd already there. They had a big presence despite being a warm-up band. And those last couple songs were definite fan hits. I felt the energy in the room, and the band was enjoying it quite a bit. The keyboardist had this wacky gimmick thing that he did for the last couple songs where he had one of those where the keyboard is really tilted forward, so you're kind of leaning over it and your fingers are pointing downwards as you play the keys. And he did this thing where he would get up and walk side by side with his keyboard to sing to the audience. but like he'd be reaching over with his hand to still play the keys like to the side. All right, cool, whatever. I guess that's neat. But yeah, I'll have to see these guys more properly at some other venue. Although, yeah, I'm not going to be running out to see Arion alone, but it'll have to be some kind of, again, they're a warm-up band or it's a festival or something. But, you know, they seem to be an all right act. But yeah, talking about Tarot itself, which I did catch the whole show, then, yeah, what can I say? Like, it's cool vibes. Like, They certainly joked about their age quite a bit there, a little bit of discussion about how the years have gone by, so, you know, because the band is 40 years old, but I didn't feel any particular sluggishness from them as they came in and started playing all the way from their first album, what the hell is the Spell of Iron is their first album, and I think they did a good job of, like, going through the range of music that they've done, because I'm not a huge Tarot guy, but my impression is that they really have evolved their sound over 40 years, which isn't too shocking, I guess, over 40 years, but it is, like, you know, like, as notable how noticeable it is, because they start out as a very kind of traditional new wave of heavy metal band, probably the first of its kind in Finland, really. You can feel, like, Iron Maiden influences. You can also feel, like, the Deep Purple influences from those Hammondy keyboards that are providing fills. So it's kind of like, you know, keyboard-laden Iron Maiden kind of traditional metal, like, jamming on the first few albums. I do think the sound evolved around the turn of the millennium, because that's when I first listened to them on Suffer Our Pleasures, and it is a more modern sound, or at the time, more modern sound. I think the keyboards are the big change, because, like, they went away from the Deep Purple-ish, like, organ sounding, like, Casio keyboard thing, to a little bit more taking from contemporary power metal stuff, like you know, Sonata Arctica. And I would even say, like, the kind of Janne Virman style, you know, frenetic keyboarding of Children of Bodom is palpable at times. And also Marco's singing, of course. I do think his voice kind of, like, became a little bit gravelier, because he really does sound like a 80s band in those first few albums when he's a young man. But, like, he got gravel. Like, if you heard Wish I Had an Angel by Nightwish, that was from around the same time, you know, as Suffer Our Pleasures, the album that I first heard from Tarot. So, like, and the point I'm saying is that when they were performing live, they managed to, you know, really represent all these, and it felt cohesive. Like, definitely felt the Deep Purple-y, like, jamming there at the time, but then they'd slip into something a little more recent music, and it still made sense, and it still felt like the same band, and it was very, very pleasant. Marco was enjoying himself. His brother Sakari is the guitarist, and he was having a really goofy time. He was often gesturing really silly into the audience. Like, there's a goofy energy to this band, even though, like, it's pretty straight-laced, like, heavy metal, power metal influenced heavy metal. I mean, they have one guy who's like Tuple is like just Marco's friends, and he's really there as a backup singer. It looks like he's playing a second keyboard, but he's just playing samples, and he's really there to like provide backup vocals. He's a very goofy guy. Like it has real bloke energy, this band, which is not meant to like besmirch their musical stylings. So this band's still pretty tight. I'm pretty happy with. I'm really happy I got this chance. It came out of nowhere, and that's cool. Like able to say I've seen Tarot live as well. Really happy with that. But based on what the band did and how the crowd was really into it, Tarot has a good thing going on right now. They were like split up for several years because their original drummer died in 2016. They've only been active again for a couple of years. I don't know. I guess time will tell if they're up for recording new music. They didn't talk about any of that. But at least right now, this energy is still good that the band has going on of like celebrating the band's journey so far. I do think this was the last show of the 40th anniversary tour, so I'm not sure what to expect then in the future, but like there's also nothing about a new album, but also nothing about them like calling it quits. Like they were really thankful for the new drummer who is from Turmionkätilöt, and the like how well this guy has meshed into their band. So I think it's all good. Like I think you can still expect this band to be touring, and I think they're doing a good job. But yeah, that's it then. So that's the surprise. One more, or for this year, the first concert report surprise drop here. Gonna wrap that up. Let's now return to the regularly scheduled music reviews. Please enjoy. So we'll start off this month still kind of following the footsteps of December, which, if you listened to that last month, it was a, very laden with re-releases and, looks at old albums. And we do have a re-release here to start us off rather than anything entirely new. This is Crematory, a very long-running industrial gothic band from Germany. And this is their 13th album, Monument, which came out in 2016. So, I'm not personally familiar with Crematory. Gotta admit, once again, this is a really long-running band at over 30 years now, having played. But it hasn't been on my radar. I think it just hasn't quite been the genre I listen to, so that's why I kind of missed it. But I'll pay attention to it. Like, for some reason, like, the entire discography of Crematory has been getting re-releases lately. Like, I've been following new releases and, new re-releases. That sounds stupid, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm following what's been coming out, and Crematory has been showing up all the time. Like, it seems like all of their albums are getting, like, re-releases right now, and I've been paying attention, like, in case anything with birds comes up, and yes, in fact, finally, Monument does fulfill that criteria with this monument that has a pair of eagles on it, on the left and the right there. Eagles, classic iconography for these marble statues, and they frame the image really nicely, so I really like it. So this image has been made by a longtime artist from Hungary, Péter Sallai, who is quite prolific in making kind of these kind of power metal-y and kind of death metal-y album covers. Like, he's been very, very, very busy. He's done all of Sabaton's album covers since Carolus Rex, and he's done one album that we featured on the show before, Fimbulvinter by Brothers of Metal, was his work previously. But yeah, so that's cool. This one, I'm of two minds of this image, because on the one hand, for some reason, I just feel like an image of a marble statue isn't particularly interesting, right? Like, I don't know, like, and it's funny because if I saw a marble statue in real life, I'd be like, ooh, look at the craftsmanship, the sculpturing here, like, this is really impressive. But for some reason, like, having just a picture of one is somewhat more deflating, like, on the one hand. On the other hand, I can't deny that this is a pretty striking album cover, like the way it dominates the image, the lighting to like really make this angel in the middle pop off, the framing with the clouds. I do think this works on a fair amount of levels, this album cover, even if like I don't find it conceptually particularly interesting. Like, it's not even a monument with like anything particularly crazy going on. Angels are a popular motif for this kind of classical sculpture kind of vibe. I will give points for how the band's logo, the C and the Y, have been integrated into both the staff and the shield that the main angel is carrying, so nice little touches there. But yeah, it's hard to say. Like, the birds, I wouldn't even say are a small thing either. Like, they're a nice framing device in this image, and it's nice overall, but like it's hard to say, like, do I fall on it by like really good or just passable? It's kind of hard for me to make my mind up. And speaking of that, I don't know really exactly what to make my mind of this music either. What is interesting is that this album, it's 12 songs long, 50 minutes long. I think it kind of justifies being a bit of a chunkier album like that. by having quite a bit of variety in the music. Like, it's actually a little bit hard to pin down what Crematory is genre-wise. There's harsh vocals a lot being used, so it definitely has a death metal energy to it. But there is also, like, the industrial gothic vibes do come through as well. Like, I think I can't just say gothic, because that makes me think of, like, violins and a little bit of, like, melodic symphonic energy, but, like, kind of dour. Because this one definitely has the industrial energy by having, like, some really wonky retro-ish keyboards, like, helping out with the playing, and the, like, music is quite chugging. In fact, I would say, maybe it's just because it's a German band, so I'm feeling a little bit of bias, but I would say that at times it gets, industrial enough to lean towards the Neue Deutsche Hetze contemporaries of Germany, just a wee bit. But there's also more mellower songs, which just kind of have like that kind of languid, melodic, melancholic guitar playing, and a lot smoother, like cleaner vocals, which definitely evokes more of the, like, if you imagine like the other spectrum of gothic metal, then like I guess leaning more towards Fields of the Nephilim or something. Like that also comes through there quite a bit. So it's a nice variety. In that sense, I do think this is a good album. I'd say as a first time listening to Crematory more than like an odd recommendation coming up. Like, I think this is a good sampling of what this band is like. So I ultimately I do think this is a pretty good album. I do sadly have to say that nothing particularly stood out incredibly much here. Definitely some fun songs, and I like that it sometimes switches into German. Although leaning, well, I don't know. No, I'd say it's like 60% at least in English still. I like the little variety that provides. I guess Raven's Calling and Ice Cult were like a nice good balance of the two spectrums. Bit more languid gothic song, and then a much more industrial kind of angry chugging song. I'll let you guess which one of the two is which. But yeah, by the end of the album I was like, well, that was a pleasant listen, but it didn't stick to me super hard. So yeah, that's why I was so hard to rate this one. Like, very competently done. Good work with the balance of harsh and clean vocals, and I did like the kind of industrial energy. It was really fun when like the keyboards really got to like play off with that silly synthy sound at times. So I think it's competently made. I think if this potpourri of genres has something that appeals to you, I'd recommend checking out some like singles off of this album. I'm not sure if I would recommend committing to the whole thing, but I think a check out is worth it. Next up, we will take a dip into the not exactly metal, but it's adjacent enough that I'll allow it, subgenre of music that pops up on this show every so often. This is the Norwegian garage rock band Gluecifer and their newest release, Same Drug, New High. Gluecifer is, well, I'm not super familiar with them because they're not as famous as the Helicopters, but they're a part of that Nordic garage rock scene from about 20, 30 years ago. They actually were split up for quite a few years in the 2000s and 2010s, so this is actually their first album in over 20 years, so that's kind of interesting. Well, I'm not sure who to attribute this image to, because the credits say that the design and artwork is by Fredrik Melby, but it also says that photography is by Paul Laukli, both of them Norwegian fellas, and this is a photo on this image, so I want to lean that it's the photographer's work, but I'll just shout out both of the artists, just in case, on who worked on the image here. And I do quite like this a lot. It's, well, it's like pretty in your face now, isn't it? And, you know, it doesn't take very long to find the bird in this image, I hope, because it's, of course, this big looming chicken here at the bottom. Didn't we have a big looming chicken last month too when I did the Gits album? I kind of did, yeah. There's something, I don't know, like this chicken looks really menacing. There's something interesting about how you can make a chicken look pretty creepy, actually, if you just use the right framing. And angles here. And that's why I do think, I actually think this is kind of a cool album cover. Despite, again, being rather simple, but it's, it's got creative work on the lighting and, like, angling of this chicken. And it's, just kind of, it has attitude to it, despite being so simple. And, there's not a lot to talk about this image otherwise, outside of the bird itself. Unlike some images where, it's like, well, here's a little bird in the corner, there's a lot more to talk about. But this time, no, the bird does dominate the image very nicely. It's got a starkness to it, the image in general, of course. The background color is about the same shades as the chicken, so it kind of is very, minimalist and simple. Really makes you just focus on this creature here with a nice little, big band logo there at the top. Just, again, big block letters, all black. It's simple but punchy, I would say. So I think it works as an album cover, especially because, once again, I'd say the music kind of matches that simple but punchiness. So this has a really great opening, this album, with the song The Idiot, with some real fun frenetic drumming kicking you off, launching you into like a really cool fast-paced, rock playing. Kind of, a little bit like slightly softer Motorhead comes to mind a little bit, with the just how we just go speeding off with this first track. And the lyrics are really kind of bouncy and frenetic as well. The singing, it just comes off like it brings to mind REM's The End of the World as we know it. So it's a really, really impressive opening, and I'm delighted by how this music gets started here. And I think the garagey kind of hard rock, just jamming attitude is really nicely palpable here, at the start of the album. It does vary it up a little bit, and in a really appreciable way. Like, the next song immediately slows it down a little bit and is a bit more of a, more kind of straightforward rock song. And it kind of goes between these worlds. You can tell a lot of influences here, not just from these contemporaries of this kind of slightly punkish, simple but punchy rock of the garage rock scene. But like I said, Motorhead comes through, and sometimes this feels like a bit of an AC/DC reference. One song, I forget which one it was now, but one of these early songs definitely has an opening which feels a little bit like For Those About to Rock. Oh, okay, cool. Well, it of course does its own thing ultimately. But yeah, I'd say it's a really, really good album in that sense. I do think it peters off towards the end. I think it stops kind of surprising you with the interesting choices and changes and different stylings. It starts to bleed into itself a little bit by the end of itself, So I was a little bit less kind of enamored by what was coming next with the last stretch of 5 or 6 songs. Although the second to last song, Another Night, Another City, was a great feel-good anthem to have a nice ending. It's too bad it was the second to last song. I think that would have worked better as an album ender. And in general, I'd say at 11 songs, I think you could have tightened it up by dropping 1 or 2 out of this final stretch of songs, and it would have still been a fairly long album. I think like a decent length album. And I think it would have been fine with that. But even now, I'm really happy with this. It was got a good, free-spirited rocking music here. I'm glad they put this chicken on the cover, so it was the motivation I drop in to listen to this fun little album here. So I would recommend checking this out, even if it might not be able to hold your attention entirely through, but it's got a really strong first act. So please do check this stuff out, guys. Next up, it's the German comedy metal band J.B.O. and their 15th album, Haus of the Rising Fun. This is a really long-running band, given that it's 15 albums these guys have cranked out, so I'm a little embarrassed to admit I have never heard of J.B.O. before, but I think given how very, very German these guys are. I think it might be a bit of more of a local scene that I'm hearing about for the first time, mayhaps. So, what else? Let's have a listen to it. This is, it's another, like, little monument bird here. It's a very tiny one here, but there is a weathercock on the top of this building, and I thankfully spotted that and realized, oh, hey, that totally qualifies for this show. It's technically not exactly a weathercock even, because you can see it's a hand doing the devil's horns, but it does have the head of the rooster sticking out of the side, so qualifies in my books. But yeah, that's about it. You know, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's silly. It's a fun idea. That's like, yeah, all right, sure, why not? That kind of has a shape of a bird body, doing the hand with the horns. So sure, and it adds to the funness of this Haus. I'm really trying to pronounce that really German. That Haus. I mean, what can I say about this image in general? It's a fun concept. The balance of pink is fun. As I could tell, this band really, really favors the color pink. That seemed to be a dominant color in like a lot of their albums and like images of the band itself. I figure it's like kind of their brand, and I guess that sets the tone very nicely, so it's a good image for that sense. I couldn't figure out, I did try to look this up, but I could not find credits for this image, I'm sad to say, so don't know who to credit for this one, but it's an alright one. Like I mean it's clever how there's like a little face going on here. The nose ring on that central pillar is like a fun idea, and I might be reading too much into it, but the smile is formed by those upside down kind of half semicircle glasses. That sort of reminds me of the house in the Amityville Horror, the movie specifically. I don't know what the real life place was, and it's irrelevant because it's all nonsense. But anyway, I don't know if like this house is supposed to invoke like the Amityville house, but like fun. So who knows? But sure, it's cute, it's fun, it's peppy, it's cool. So I'll admit it's all right. Now, musically, this album. So we're jumping into some comedy metal here, so that's might be a bit of a hard sell, and I don't think the band or the album did itself favors with the very first song, which is just metal, which I for the life of me can't tell if that's supposed to be, is this a cover of some Lady Gaga song? That's what the song title makes me think of, but I couldn't for the life of me tell, honestly. So it's they chant the title of the song quite a few times, and I don't think it's a very like pleasant earworm. The guitar work, it's not a super heavy band. It's a bit of a folksy kind of like hard rock traditional heavy metal band. The folk instruments mainly with that Oktoberfesty accordion and other silliness going on here, I'd say. Yeah, I think that the playing is competent. It's pleasant music. It's not super silly. The actual music side is on point for most of the songs. It seems to be more the lyrics that want to carry the humor here, and yeah, I don't think that first opening kind of sours me a little bit. I don't think it was very, very compelling. Now, the reason I wondered, is this a Lady Gaga song, is that there are quite a few parody, like, covers on this album. Like, I got the impression that online that, like, that is kind of this band's bread and butter, and yeah, I'd say, like, I recognize maybe a little less than half of the album's 13 songs as cover songs, or actually maybe less, quarter, third, something like that. And the other songs, I have no idea. Like, I want to say that they're just like silly songs in general, but they might just be like obscure German songs that I don't recognize, so I have no context. Like, I got nothing on some of these songs. There was a song titled Stinkefinger, which I was really hoping was gonna be a parody of Tool's Stinkfist, just because the sheer audacity of making a parody song of a Tool song would be quite something. But no, it's not. It's certainly not. It's not Stinkfist that's being covered there, at least that's for sure. But yeah, some of the cover choices, I don't know, they just come off as straightforward music. Maybe I'm just like, I don't see what's silly about covering a non-metal song, but like, I mean, the second song is House of the Rising Sun, and it's obviously a cover of House of the Rising Sun, and it just seemed like a pretty straightforward, like musically, it was a straightforward, just like kind of little hard rocky version of this classic track. The lyrics were, again, half and half in English and German, and my German isn't that good that I could like figure out what's being sung mid-song. So if there's like some funny jokes going on there, they're kind of missing me. But then there's like, you know, more obvious is I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry, just is a straight cover here. And I mean, I don't know, like I guess the joke is that it's a bunch of, let's say, well-refined German guys, to put their age politely here, I guess, doing a cover of a Katy Perry song. I guess that's the joke. But the actual song just was kind of a cover of that, you know, classic pop song. Like, all right, sure, that's fine. There's more obvious, like there's like some Bill Oktoberfesty schloss kind of songs here, which we're goofing at, and there's a style parody called Power Sucht Wolf, which is, you know, it's riffing on Power Wolf. So it's power metal, kind of like sounding like Power Wolf, but with an overabundance of wolf howls and other noises. Like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't know. I think you need to be German to really appreciate like what they're going for here, because like a lot of it is kind of missing me. And but what I can tell is that what I mentioned about that first song is something they lean on a little bit too much. I think a lot of songs want to like really hit a phrase for you that like kind of sticks in your brain as an earworm, but they just kind of come off as annoying. I couldn't like really vibe with them. The one I will say is a you know, exception is the third song, Vito, Wir machen Krach, where Krach is, we're making noise. Krach is noise. I don't know who Vito is, but like he's being invited to make some noise, and that one is catchy. There's fun. That just spews fun. That song. It's like a good like happy-go-lucky metal track, and the like beer song kind of chanting of Vito, Wir machen Krach is, you know, pleasant. That one I can see what the band's going for, and I enjoyed it. But there's like other songs like Kafump, which, as far as I can tell, is supposed to be an onomatopoeia of popping open a beer bottle, you know, like a bottle cap off of a beverage bottle, and they repeat Kafump to the point of obnoxiousness. The final song is called Mein Arsch, just really, you know, highbrow humor here, guys. Well, whatever. But the point is that, like, going on about Mein Arsch is... I don't know, I guess maybe I'm the puerile one here, because I kind of maybe was enjoying it by the end, but... Yeah, I'd say you have to be really German to really appreciate this album, at a minimum, I think. Otherwise, it's just like a bunch of goofy Oktoberfest soundtrack music, with a couple of funny covers there. Like, I thought they were pleasant. Like, I enjoyed I Kissed a Girl being done like this, I suppose, even though I don't get what the joke is, but... yeah, I don't know. If you're a German-speaking fellow, give this a spin. Otherwise, I don't know. Check out maybe some of the covers that you find familiar. Maybe they might be fun. And next up for us, it's Lake of Tears with their fifth album, The Neonai, released in 2002, and it is getting a re-release now. This is, I think this is the third re-release from Lake of Tears that we're checking out on this show. I don't remember if any of the other albums have been re-released, but somehow they've all been the ones that have a bird on the cover from this band. Don't know how weirdly auspicious that was, and I'm not sure. I checked a couple other album covers as a little test and couldn't see any birds on the other ones, so somehow we've picked out the ones which have, you know, birds on them. The first time we listened to this band was their third album, A Crimson Cosmos, which was the really goofy album cover with the, like, wizard and corgi riding a swan boat. That's still burned in my mind for how silly it was. And this definitely matches it on whimsy, I'd say. Maybe even exceeds because of just how colorful and goofy this little adventure going on here is. This album cover is by none other than Kristian Wåhlin, who is a really prolific artist, like album artist from Sweden. Like just a laundry list of like big names all over the place from the last 30 years, you know, that he has done album covers for. From Sweden, like At the Gates album, Slaughter of the Soul from the 90s is his work, but like and a whole bunch of Bathory albums, like the later like final Bathory albums are from him, both with the Nordlands and Blood on Ice. And in the Finnish circles, Amorphous' Elegy is his work, Iron by Ensiferum, among others, is his work, Winter Sun's self-titled debut is his work, so yeah, quite the big name, doing some very silly albums for Lake of Tears, but whimsy, I'll say, because silly has a negative connotation. I really like this album cover. The birds are all over, as you can see, these, I don't know, I'm not sure if they're like ravens or crows, because the faces are a little bit different, like, but they're not blackbirds, because blackbirds have yellow beaks, so I'm not exactly sure what these are. I'll just refer to them as corvids for now, with lack of any better idea. But yeah, I mean, they're all over the image, and they're really lovingly rendered. I like how they look, and they really match the whimsy of the image, and they contrast nicely with the like cavalcade of color here, but they're not like, although they're dark, they're not like colorless, like they've got this nice blue hue to them that's delightful to look at. And yeah, the image in general, like there is an actual rainbow in it to really sell you on all the wackiness going on, and the just plethora of colors that are used here all over the place. I'm not sure what's going on here exactly. Apart from that, they seem to be doing the classic stork carrying a baby thing, this jester-hatted guy in the middle, but of course it's not a stork, so I don't know. But like, yeah, there's a beautiful mountain there in the middle with a star at the top. There's all these weird little gremlin guys riding these birds and gnomes and whatever. It's very pastoral and lovely. Strange instruments. There's an elephant on the top of that mandolin that the guy on the left has. It's certainly unique and certainly funny. So like and like really well done. Like Wåhlin has not skimped out on the you know, like vibes, even though the topic has not been like the typical kind of Ensiferum-y battle scenes or whatever that like some of those more somber / grim metal albums have asked of him. But so yeah, big ups for this image. I really love it. Musically, I was first of all surprised by how much this sounds like Ghost. Now, of course, some careful attention to detail guys will be like, you can't say it sounds like Ghost. Ghost came afterwards. Sure, okay, yeah, I can't really, but the point is, like, this musically really resembles like what Ghost morphed into, and it's just fascinating that nothing's really new in that sense. Like, you could absolutely imagine Ghost having been inspired by this band, probably, because yeah, I'm trying to remember the first couple albums. I wasn't crazy on either of them, you know, the albums that we featured on the show. The very first album from Lake of Tears, Greater Art, I was like, eh. And I remember Crimson Cosmos was a little bit better, that there were like standouts, but like didn't really latch onto it. And this one feels like the most competent of them, and they've found the sound that I just mentioned. It's like this kind of relaxed, laid-back guitar work and like some ethereal synths, and overall just like kind of vibing, easy to listen, maybe a little bit gothic kind of sounding, leaning somewhere more like rock than metal even. And I think it's all together, it's like really well done, and the singing is nice and really does sound at times like Ghost. That's also what grabbed me, more so than those other two albums we checked out. And but yeah, like it's very like well done on this part. Like it's got like a good like kind of interesting like chill out vibe. It's easy listening in that sense. I do think that even though it's 41 minutes long, so it's not a super long album, by the second half of the album, I was like kind of checked out. It all started to bleed in a little bit too much. Like it started to blend together. and like easy, like languid vibes, you know. There was a song with a woman singing on it. Was it Sorcerers or Can Die No More from the middle? So that gave a bit of a break, but that was one of the more like quieter songs on the album. And then I think the song Sorcerers had like a really groovy synth opening to it that was really fun to listen to, and that might be the high point of the album. I'd say the first quote-unquote real song after the intro, Return of Ravens, is a good kind of jamming opening, like real nice. And I'd say that Sorcerer's song is real cool with the like synth work. So I think there's like high points, but I don't know if I can listen to the whole album on repeat very often. Like it's pleasant chill out music, but a little hard to like latch on to, I think, in the individual points apart from these two, which kind of felt nice. I have to also give a moment to talk about the bizarre outro that they made for this song album. Like, not that an outro normally would particularly like pique my interest, but this one's weird. It starts really nicely with some very kind of Casio synth, kind of like slow, somber, melancholic music. Pretty good for ending an album. Like it kind of has like MIDI music energy, so I could imagine that playing on a kind of sadder feeling doom level. And I would have said that it's a great thing, but it starts doing this weird thing where the melody just cuts into a completely different song for like a few seconds, and then cuts back into the quote-unquote proper outro song. It was so jarring that I had to look up the song from a couple other sources just to check, like, no, this actually is, like, I didn't get, like, a bunkum, like, copy that I was listening to. Like, this is actually what the outro sounds like. Like, it's not like this, like, really well done progressive medley or like something like it feels like they just, like, cut two completely different song samples that then jarringly cut back to the outro. It has the energy of, like, if you remember, if anyone is old enough to remember, advertisements on TV from like the 90s, early 2000s for like compilation albums, the way they'll like switch between songs in that commercial, you know, like to highlight the different songs on the album, like little snippets. That's what it feels like, but it's kind of weird to listen to that on an album capper. So maybe that's also making me a little bit negative on this album. Like, what a peculiar choice. But you know, nothing particularly offensive about this album either, and I like enjoyed my one go through it. So if you want easy, more rock leaning kind of synthy, gothy, kind of easy listening music, this one might be the strongest of the Lake of Tears albums that we've talked about. So I guess just for that, check it out. I don't know. Now let's wrap this month up with a Funeral Doom offering. This is the German Funeral Doom band Lone Wanderer and their third album, Exequiae. This album cover is on the show once again as a generous interpretation of something being a bird, and but you're welcome to dispute the idea. But I believe the birds in this cover are visible about there in the middle, a little bit up from the middle. It's like a little bit beneath the logo there. There are these little like pattern divot things in the air, which look like the profile of a flying bird. And I can't reasonably come up with an explanation for what else those could be. Like, it's not insects, it's not the shape of a bat, and time of day doesn't really match that. The only really it could be otherwise is that it's a wrinkle on the canvas that, you know, this, like, impurity over the years has lasted there. And that doesn't make sense. Those look more deliberate. Those do look like paint lines, and I don't see similar kind of wrinkles anywhere else. So I'm gonna stand on this one and say that there are birds in this image, that flock flying over there. And, you know, my interpretation also, I think, adds a little interesting extra energy to this image, since this flock of birds seems to be following the same path as this procession here. So that's just an interesting energy to me in my mind. to like have this force of nature following along this somber congregation here, you know? So that's kind of maybe also why I want to interpret them as birds, because I think it just makes it a more enjoyable picture that way. So this image is a painting from 1828 by a German 19th century painter called Ernst Ferdinand Oehme. So, it's called Procession in the Fog, and I think it's a pretty lovely one in general. I'm kind of impressed that, 200 years ago, they had, like, this kind of mastery, you know? I mean, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't be. But also, I guess thematically, that they were cranking something like this out, like, I feel like classical art always has some, like, pretty, vivid color work, so this kind of, like, mega desaturated image feels more modern than 200 years to me, so I'm kind of thoroughly impressed by this, and in that light, maybe a pun, I don't know, since this is all about light and shadow, this image, whatever, I think this is a really well done image, since, the mood is captured, and you can tell all the details really nicely too, and the, like, shadow and dark is nicely balanced. It's overall, it's just a fantastic image. You can just make out the little cross at the edge of the head of the procession, which, if you couldn't tell that this is like some kind of religious group wandering, like it's just there to help. The balance of stuff is really nice. I don't even mind that there's only like this little mausoleum here on the right and there's nothing really on the left. Sometimes I'd be like, I don't know, it kind of looks lopsided, but it gives an energy of like, I don't know how to put it to words, but like you can feel that the congregation has come from the left where there's nothing, like they're moving by like leaving the side kind of like vacant, if that makes at all any sense, whereas the mausoleum on the right is just kind of an element there to like, I guess, contrast with them. I don't know, that's just how I interpret it, but I think this is a really cool picture altogether, so very delightful to look at, and it gets big ups. So musically, Funeral Doom, I think we've taken a couple cracks at these lately, and maybe again it's just recency bias, but I kind of feel like this is the best of the Funeral Doom albums that we have listened on this show. I enjoyed it just by virtue of the first track and the last track are really nicely melodic and melancholic and have some really cool vibes to them, so that they kind of stand out a little bit more than the previous Funeral Doom offerings that we have listened to. And that is quite a tall order to make that first song impressive, because it is also the most challenging song to listen on this album. They put the first song as the longest song, and To Rest Eternally, the song in question, is a mammoth 24 minutes long. So it's quite a buy-in, it's quite an ask to, like, you want to listen to this album, you gotta, like, get through this first. Which, I don't know, I'm making it sound like it's a bad song. Again, no, but it was an impressively, like, interesting kind of progressive, slow-paced, ponderous Funeral Doom outing with some lovely melody mixed up, so I think it's a fantastic song. So overall this album is, because that's just the first song, and it is the longest one, but we're still talking about long songs for all the other ones. This ends up being an hour and 12 minutes long, so this is by no means an easy or accessible album, and it's not designed to be. I don't think Funeral Doom in general is one of the most accessible genres available. But, just to me, the offering of the couple songs here, To Rest Eternally and then the final song, Epistemology of the Past, have the right amount of, like, kind of somber melody to, like, make me kind of, like, perk up and enjoy it. Whereas otherwise, Funeral Doom, I guess its inaccessibility is too much for my casual ass. And in fact, in that light, I do have to say, I think the songs 2, 3, and 4... I'm not left with a whole lot of memory of, like, okay, well, what were those like? So, unfortunately, like, the middle part reminded me more of what we've heard so far of, like, it's pleasant in the moment, but this isn't the kind of music that lasts with me personally, so I'm not that delighted, ultimately. And I'm not like, really, do I want this whole album to listen to when basically I really only want to hear 2 songs off of it? Now, those are 2 songs which together add up to be 40 minutes of music, because, again, that's the genre. But, yeah, I don't know. But if, like, you guys at home have been listening to me go on about the genre a little bit and the couple of examples we've gotten, this one personally feels like the best one to jump into. So, the genre classics we talked about earlier, if they haven't grabbed you yet, I don't know, but you still have some interest for this, I don't know, let's still give this one a shake or something, I guess. It might last with you the same way it lasted with me. But, yeah, that's about it. And that, dear listener/viewer, will be it for our January edition of Metal Albums with Birds on the Cover. It was a light beginning to the year here for us with only 5 albums to go through, but I thought it was still an enjoyable romp, and hope you guys got some interesting tips here as well. It was fascinating how there were some trends here. There was a lot of gothic metal, and also like these kind of melancholy, sad vibes. And there was quite a few bands from Germany, I'm pretty sure. And also Sweden. Yeah, funny how that all went. Gluecifer was from Norway, but okay. I guess as soon as you have just 2, if there's only 5 albums being reviewed, as soon as you have 2 of something, it feels like a pattern, but whatever. But I also was amused how very much we went through some emotion extremes today, since there were a couple albums which were like real happy-go-lucky, a straight-up comedy album, and then also the punk-rocky Gluecifer album was, quite goofy as well, even if it was not straight comedy, but it was certainly like, I would describe it as feel-good a lot of the time. Whereas the other ones went from somber, kind of gothic energy to like straight-up just mega sad vibes with Lone Wanderer's funeral doom metal outing. So yeah, we swung from left to right today, I suppose. But no, I thought it was delightful despite that. The best album cover feels like a bit of a cheat, but since it's by an actual like old-timey classical artist, but like that Lone Wanderer album looks really cool. They certainly picked a real banger from 200 years ago to work to fit the mood, and also just in general just be like a really cool looking painting. So Lone Wanderer easily has the best album cover this month out of the choices here. But I gotta say, while Lone Wanderer did rank high by virtue of having some real strong songs there, I do think I'm gonna swing to the happy side today with what my favorite was. I'm gonna give it to Gluecifer and their garage rocky metal kind of alt thing going on there. It was impressive, delightful, I thought, often throughout the album, and I just kind of feel more like having some like real kind of swinging rock energy to start this year off. So I'm more leaning on Gluecifer as the album of choice here, So that's gonna be my nomination for the best album with a bird on the cover that we had to enjoy this month. Not to mention, it's also got quite a fun album cover. Just having that big chicken there staring you down is very silly. But if you didn't think that I judged that right, if you think there was something else here that was better, or in general you thought that something was interesting and worth supporting, you will find some links down in the comments where you can go and find this stuff. So please feel free to support the artist that way if you so desire. But yeah, I will be wrapping it up here. I suppose not a lot more to add here. It was good tidings, good stuff. We'll see how this year gets going. Okay, I know. Already next month there's at least one big name band putting out a album with a Bird on it, which is going to be an interesting release. So I'm certainly looking forward to what to expect. I do know that it's a bit quiet in general otherwise, but I can see that we'll still have stuff to talk about in the coming months. So I do hope you guys look forward to that. But for now, we'll be closing off. I hope the year has gotten well with all you guys started, and I hope you guys will look forward to this show carrying on. But I will catch you all in the future for those editions, okay? Alrighty, bye-bye!